Health coaches, you know how important it is to carve out a niche. But what do you do if you had so many health challenges that you overcome that you don't know which one to pick? And so, how do you create a business without leaving anyone else out? But when there's a dozen things that you've overcome, how do you pick just one? So, our special guest today, Valentina Tucker, is an excellent example of that. She's overcome so much over so many years, and we're going to talk to her about how did she carve out her unique niche so that she can create her soul satisfying career, and lots of great stuff along the way if you are suffering, especially in the realm of gut health. So, and autoimmune. So, welcome, Valentina.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shaunna.
I am so excited to have you here. You are a great example of somebody because the body's all connected. When you have an autoimmune condition, it's not uncommon for people to have multiple different diagnoses. So, take us back to what were you doing before you were a health coach? What's your background? And then bring us to some of those challenges that had occurred over the past 20 some years that you became an expert in. A lot of us say none of us want to be an expert in what we're an expert in, but take us back from where you were and then what were some of the challenges, and then we'll look at, okay, how did we carve out what to pick from where to build your practice.
Yeah, sure. So, yes, before I got into health coaching, I was a respiratory therapist in home health care. I did that for about 10 years until I had my first son. And then I went back part-time for about a year until I became a full-time stay-at-home mom. So that career was very stressful and demanding. I was always on call, I was always on the road, and then dealing with infant and pediatric patients that were, very high acuity. They had a lot of needs. Um, it was rough.
Yeah.
So after 2020, I realized that I ethically just didn't feel like I could go back into the conventional world after everything that I had been through with my health struggles.
Yeah.
Um, and the way everything was changing, I knew I needed to kind of start fresh and I needed to get back into a career, but what was I going to do? So I came across health coaching and I felt like it just fit. Um,
How did you stumble across health coaching? For me, it was a late night desperate web search.
Yeah, so I think it was like a mom group that I was on Facebook, and somebody was in a similar situation as me and had asked this question. So I was reading through responses and then ended up connecting with somebody who had done this, and a total stranger, she's like offered to get on a call with me
Yeah.
and tell me about IIN. And she was like, you should totally do it. It's amazing. So, and I definitely, even if I wouldn't have done anything with using it as a career, it was just an amazing transformational experience. So I will forever be grateful for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has led me down the best path.
Yeah, me too. Like I always say I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for IIN, and so many people say that, like your own personal growth that happens through that time that you're there, your eyes get opened, you're exposed to like over 100 different theories. You just have such a broader perspective and a more expansive view that is it's hard to put into words how that is. So when you went to IIN, you're now, and the other wonderful thing about health coaching is if you are a stay-at-home mom, it is like the best career because you get to be a
Mhm.
mom, you get to be at home, you get to set your own hours, you get to work with who you want, when you want, how you want, where you want. That's huge to have that freedom. So we love that. So when you went there, um, where were you in your health struggle? Like, had you overcome the health struggles and now you're looking at how can I give back? Or were you still knee deep or eyeball deep in your
Mhm.
health challenges?
Yeah, so I was still struggling with my health. Um, and I feel like a lot of my transformation and progress stemmed from everything that I learned through IIN. So that really kind of catapulted me into a tremendous amount of healing. And as part of your previous question, my health struggles, I guess you could actually say started around the age of 10 because I that is when I actually started experiencing acne.
Hmm.
So it's pretty young, young age. I think usually younger than normal
Yeah.
to kind of start having acne. And then eventually, when I was around 14, 15 years old, is when I started experiencing irritable bowel syndrome.
Hmm.
And my parents took me to a gastroenterologist. I had a colonoscopy, and he had diagnosed me with ulcerative colitis and IBS.
Hmm.
So that was the beginning of my journey. And I struggled with that for over 20 years. And along that journey, because I was going to, conventional medicine and they would put me on medications. And so things just kept mounting.
Yeah.
And my list of health challenges just kept growing and growing. I had weight fluctuations. I had joint pain, back pain. I was always tired, no matter how much sleep I got. I was always bloated. And I ended up also having Lyme disease, and I was also on the brink of like heavy metal toxicity. And I mean, you kind of think of it, and I feel like I had it. I even struggled with infertility after my first, when we wanted to keep expanding our family. I I had a rough journey with that, with a miscarriage. And so in total, it was like 15 months before I ended up having a successful pregnancy and second, eventually a second child. So that was really hard also. So
When did you have your second child in relation to when you were in IIN? Was that before IIN?
I had my second child October 25th of 2020. And it was right. We were going to start fertility treatments, and right when everything was about to be shut down and we wouldn't have been able to do that, I found out I was pregnant. So it was a big blessing.
Yeah. And so so we had lots of stuff. I was like kind of writing some of the things down.
Yeah.
So we had bloating, IBS, acne, and we had ulcerative colitis. I think there were, and then there's the infertility, there's Lyme disease, there's brain fog, there's fatigue, there's the weight issues,
Mhm.
there's skin, sinus, there was
Yeah.
depression, there was
Chronic
mood
sinus
issues,
infection.
hot headaches, like there was like a lot of things. And so kind of when it all falls apart, it's all falling apart, but it's not like those are all separate things. Those are just leaves of the same root. And that's the wonderful thing that IIN does a great job at, helping people really get to the root causes and not going just like it's only genetic or it's only your food that you ate. Like it's everything. It's your stress, it's everything that is factoring into that. And so, um, fast forward and you're struggling with all of these things, plus you're a mom of these kids. How did you get onto the other side of it? Because, spoiler alert, she is. Otherwise, she wouldn't really be helping people very, very well if she was still struggling. So, like, how did you get on and to improving? And tell us a little bit about, what happened to change and turn that around.
Yeah, so I am an avid researcher. And after my last doctor's visit, I had to have another colonoscopy, and this was pre-kids. I had to have another colonoscopy, because my symptoms just kept persisting and flaring. And when I was in her office afterwards, and she was looking at me straight faced and was like, "Well, your only option is medication." I'm like, "Okay, well, how long would I have to do that for the unforeseeable future? This is going to be like a long-term thing for you."
Yeah.
And I just could not accept that answer. I was like, This cannot be the only way
Mhm.
to that's not healing. Like something is
Yeah.
wrong with my body and I have to figure out what is happening.
Mhm.
So I just started researching and I didn't stop. And then, of course, I feel like just really glued all the puzzle pieces together. But between nutritional deficiencies and when your body's kind of overloaded with toxins and can't detox properly, um, it was gut healing and giving my body what it needed, really managing stress. I didn't realize how much stress
Yeah.
impacted my life and how much when I really started honing in on when I would become really stressed, everything would start to get flared and worse.
Mhm.
So getting in those stress management practices was a big game changer for me, the deep breathing. Um, and when I started just making all these shifts, everything started falling into place.
It's I hear the story over and over and over again, and I love when you're sharing, like, it's like so much can change so quickly when you get to the root. And a lot of people miss that critical stress step. Like that
Mhm.
we have to address. And like that affects your fertility, it affects your
Mhm.
skin, it affects your mood, it affects your weight, it affects your bowels. Like it's from once you've seen it and you're on the other side, we're like, of course, that
Yeah.
totally makes sense. But when you're in it, you get so kind of tunnel visioned on your one thing, and this pill affects this one thing. But if we don't get to the root and if we don't get to the stress, like stress, always says has veto power. Like you can be
Mhm.
doing everything else right, but if we're still stressed, you're not going to get the healing that you could otherwise have. And so it's really, really important. Easier said than done sometimes because we do live in a world that is surrounded by stressful conditions. And so we have to find a way to kind of become resilient from the inside out because we don't necessarily have control over the external, but we do have an impact on the internal. And then that's where everything's changes. And so all of these things that improved your skin's beautiful, your hair, your mood and energy, like all of this, your gut health is improved. And so, and we had the Lyme and this and that, all of these things improved your mood, etc. So then, well, let's start with who are you passionate about helping now? But then, and then let's talk a little bit and we can chew on this. How do you pick a niche? And so we can talk a little bit about some of the things that we had discussed and how we kind of narrowed it down to that. But who is it that you help, Valentina?
Yeah. Um, I truly I love helping moms relieve their bloating, brain fog, fatigue, and autoimmune symptoms naturally so they can live calm, energized, and pain-free because I had experienced that and dealt with that for so long. And after I got on the other side of that, it felt so freeing. And I did feel this sense of calm and being able to transform them from feeling that way is just so amazing to see them go from where they were to being a happy mom who can be present and playful with her kids and actually feel like she's enjoying it.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
love working with moms. And yeah, picking the niche was very difficult because I did have so many health problems that I didn't really know, didn't really know what I wanted to do, especially because the ulcerative colitis was a big chunk of my life. And that was the one that was kind of, the big tamale there. So I just felt that the symptoms of bloating, brain fog, and fatigue that I had really struggled with, even after getting the ulcerative colitis under control, was something that I really wanted to focus on because I feel like so many people, so many moms
Mhm.
struggle with that,
Yeah.
no matter what they have going on.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and I think as we look at carving out people's purpose-driven expert niche, I call it, and so we look at those things that we look at the story. So the first thing that we do when we're working with someone and we're trying to carve out what is your niche, like what is that unique fingerprint signature niche that you have that you are the best at. And I always say you are the world's leading expert at being you. So we want to take whatever that is and then package it into a signature process so that you can be the best at doing this. And so it's a combination of those things that light you up, that these are people that you like to work with, that you want to help, that feels good, like you would help and talk about these things even if people didn't pay you. And then
Mhm.
those things that you have a track record in that you've overcome. And some of the mistakes people make is sometimes they're so focused on um, this problem that they think this should be the niche because that's like there might be like really like knee deep in horrible relationships, toxic relationships, and they're knee deep in toxic relationships, and then they're like, I have a great idea, I'm going to help people with toxic relationships, and it's like, but they haven't figured that one out. Or in the before side, when you're struggling with all these health challenges, to say, hey, I'm going to help people with their gut health, but we haven't figured it out, well, then we're in the blind leading the blind. So
Mhm.
what we're looking for is something that you've already overcome to some measure. Like we've made some noticeable progress so that we figured some things out the hard way so that someone else doesn't have to figure it out the hard way. And so that combination of those things that light you up, that feel fun to talk about, because that way you don't mind doing this work all the time. Although you don't have to do it all the time, but like it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
And then those things that you're good at. So then that sweet spot is what I call a purpose driven expert niche. And that's naturally attractive. You're naturally confident. It feels good to be the good one in, your space, right? Like to be the one that gets great results. And so all of that sort of combines. And so for you, you could have done ulcerative colitis because you have a track record in that. But the person that you felt called to do is really like, I'm immersed with these moms. I'm hanging out with these moms all the time, anyways. I get it. I understand what it's like to be a mom because that is also part of this identity. And I really resonate with that. And that's just who I feel called to do. And I'm like, this becomes a natural, easy thing. So we want to look at, if you're struggling with your niche, by the way, you want to look at, who do I want to help? Who feels fun to help, um, and what have I already got some track record on. And then I'm going to put a link to a free copy of Six Figure Health Coach down in the description. So there's a little bit of information there. Actually, there's a significant amount of information about carving out your niche, because that is like an absolute game changer with progress. Because when we try to help everybody with everything, we end up helping no one with nothing. Now, here's the fun part, and why Valentina does not feel bad about helping people that she wants to help with bloating, brain fog, and fatigue. That just allows you to stand out from the crowd and let people know, this is what I love helping with. However, if she has someone who comes to her with Lyme, with ulcerative colitis, with anxiety, with depression, with acne, that's in her wheelhouse. And of course, when we get to the root cause, everything improves. So she can help everybody with everything, but when we focus in on that niche, so it's really important to um, claim your space, and that allows you to get really great at it, like you have done, Valentina, and become really great at it. So as you're venturing out, so I just wanted, because we have a lot of health coaches who are listening to this, and it's like they're going to have some of these same questions, because sometimes they think they have to leave people out. I mean, if you have a 95-year-old guy that comes and wants to help with knee pain and you know how to do that, then you can help them. But if we say we're going to help everybody, that's why most health coaches struggle to get clients. So you want to claim the space that you want. And then, of course, that's what the conversation before you invite someone into the program is about, so that you can carve out what makes sense. Okay, so tell us about, what do you love best about being a health coach?
Oh, what don't I love about being a health coach? I truly love being able to teach and educate, spread awareness about natural healing and the root causes of any and all health struggles that we're all
Mhm,
dealing with
mhm.
these days. And it gives so much freedom and flexibility so that I'm able to create my own schedule and still be there for my children when they need me. There's building a business is no easy feat, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
It's been so amazing.
I think it's so good. I mean, it really has the opportunity for maximum freedom and soul fulfillment. And it's, yeah, so really great. What's something that you were struggling with as a health coach before you came to the Health Professional Academy? What were some of the things you're like, this is what I was trying to figure out? And just share a little bit about that.
Mm, yeah, I thought I knew what I was doing. I started first by trying to build a website, and that was going nowhere. And I was just like, okay, well, like, how am I going to build a website? How am I going to reach out to people? How am I going to get clients? Who am I going to help? Because I wanted to help everybody with everything because
Yeah.
I had had so many health struggles. And I'm sure I forgot to mention eczema. I had dealt with that too. Like there's so many, I can't even keep track of truly like everything that I had dealt with. So it was to the point where I realized I needed to get help. I needed some team or something to help with this. And then lo and behold, the next day I saw an ad on Facebook for the Health Professional Academy, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is what I need, and this is exactly what this was meant to be."
Yeah, I love that what we're able to do now, and really, I always say, you bring the heart, we bring the systems, so that you can have the purpose-driven business of your dreams. And so, like, really, anything that I can do to set you up with the scaffolding to help and accelerate you, that's what we're on a mission here. We're on a mission to help this world be a healthier, happier place, and we do that vicariously through amazing health coaches like yourself, and helping you get your amazing healing gifts out there. And I've just walked this path so many times. I know it like the back of my hand, and there's no need for someone else to sort of get caught up in all of the trial and errors that really take too many amazing health coaches out of the game. And that's why, like, I give my books away for free so that we can just help more and more people. So I love the niche that you've carved out, and I love the work that you do. And we're going to hear about some client examples as well, because I think that really, like, it gets meaning, but it's like why it's so important to get to root cause, all those good things. But you're helping these women with moms with autoimmune and brain fog and bloating, fatigue. What would you say is the biggest myth or myths that people who are women that are struggling with this, like looking to get their health back? What are some of the like the big myths that they have?
I think that one of the biggest myths that I see is in general, people believing that feeling bloated or foggy or exhausted, or whatever other symptom they might be feeling is normal,
Hmm.
and it's just like a part of life or being, a mom. I'm in the thick of motherhood. Of course, I'm going to be tired. Of course, I'm going to have brain fog, but it's extremely common, and just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. It's absolutely not
Right.
normal.
Hmm.
So that's one, and I feel like another big one is that people feel like they have no control over their autoimmune conditions,
Right.
that it's just genetics, it's just, what I'm going to end up with.
Hmm.
But really, gut health is so intimately tied to that. And thinking that, there's the misconception that thinking that like a detox or a supplement or a medication is just going to fix everything for them. And symptoms are heavily, heavily influenced by lifestyle factors, and always, going deeper, peeling back the onion to the root causes like gut imbalances and nutritional deficiencies and toxic overload, sluggish liver, blood sugar
Yeah.
issues, all of these things. It's a mental, emotional, and spiritual combination that has to happen to really get into your transformation and heal from the root.
So important. And when somebody is not feeling well with all of these symptoms, um, it's a journey. Like, it's a lot because they're hearing so many conflicting pieces of advice out there. everybody, and and AI will give you very confident answers, which are sometimes wrong. If you happen to know anything about in your space and you've asked it, it will be happily confident about the wrong answer. And what's real, I've done that with math things, like with math things, I'm like, I don't know that I know the math. I'm going to ask it. And then I'm like, well, that doesn't sound right. But like, what about this? Right, you are. That is like, I'm like, well, you gave me the wrong answer. And then I'm like, yeah, but what about this? Yes, of course. That is, I'm like, oh my gosh. And that so people are going to ChatGPT and they're like, or they're looking at this thing, and just because it works for someone else doesn't necessarily work for them. And that's where that journey to kind of like get to what are their particular root causes, what are their particular the nutritional deficiencies or their food intolerances that might be different for them than somebody else. And that's where health coaches can be immensely valuable because you can take the time. Like in the medical world, where I was a medical doctor for 25 years, it's fast. You don't have time to like sit and decipher and so it's really like it's going super fast, going nowhere, where this is slowing down to speed up and get on the other side of it. And that's really the difference between a medical career, which has its place, but then also here. And that's where a health coach to navigate that journey. And if you've been through it before and you've walked through people through it before, you can go there way faster. Like I can help health coaches go from zero income to six figures way faster than it did for me to get there on my own, or that it would do it through trial and error, because you just start to know, oh, like here's the mistake I'm making. And they don't even know they could be trying so diligently to do something that is sabotaging them. They're eating a food or doing a behavior that it's like, people sometimes think, well, for weight loss, well, I just got to starve myself and exercise like crazy. And that might be their best idea from where they are. And then wondering why that's not working. And so and ramping up the cortisol and all sorts of things. So I love that you're able to like kind of hold their hand through the path and like walk with them and guide them. It's an incredible, and that makes all the difference in the world. And so if you have a question for Valentina, we've got more to talk to her about here, but pop it in the comments below. She can reach out and answer you, and also we'll let you know in a moment here how you can reach out to her because she's a phenomenal resource. So, in this health coaching world, how would you say you've grown as a person through the role, and what have you learned and that kind of thing? What all has happened since you've become a health coach?
I think one of the biggest things going through the health coaching program with IIN was gaining so much self-awareness
Hmm.
and accountability, and being able to um, bring a lot of unresolved trauma to light that I really didn't know was there or that I didn't really want to face.
Hmm.
So I feel like that, was a huge step for me in my healing journey also. That was something that I had never, until IIN, I had never incorporated. And
Yes.
that was really life changing.
Yeah.
And I just, it just continuing to expand on my knowledge of holistic health and everything has greatly improved my life in all areas.
I love that. And going back and talking to your former self, any advice you'd impart to your former self?
Yes, always listen to your gut. That was one thing that, the gut intuition, when something doesn't feel right to you, it's probably not right. So, being true to yourself and believing in yourself, questioning things, being your own advocate, really thinking critically, all things that I very much strengthened throughout the last few years. And, don't just run with the crowd, really listen to your gut.
Yeah. And I think part of that journey too is healing your gut so you can trust your gut. And
Hmm.
so that you're getting the right signals. And then that practice of tuning in, and part of trusting your gut is healing your gut, and healing your gut, you can trust your gut. And it kind of becomes this cycle that allows you to start to trust what you're getting. And but know that the answer is like inside. It's not necessarily outside externally. Yes, we might have our guides and helpers and learning and information there, but really when it comes down to it, absolutely trust in your gut. Okay, my favorite question is, save the best for last. When you're helping people with whatever they've come to you for, their weight or their bloating or etc., and we get to the root cause, uh, just like when it was all going awry and you had like 20 different diagnoses all at once, but then when we unravel it, all of those can improve. Well, now when you're working with clients who come to you for this one or two things, when we get to the root cause, it's not just that that gets better, a whole bouquet of amazingness happens on the other side of that. I love hearing your stories as health coaches who help people get to the root cause. So share a client or two of like somebody who came to you for one thing that got better, but then a whole bunch of other stuff got better too.
Hmm. Yeah, sure. Um, One woman came to me. She was an older mom with a young son, and she had, when I had told her what I did and told her that I, help moms with brain fog, and she was like, "Oh, I need to see you instantly." And, she had terrible brain fog, memory issues. She was always forgetting things. She had trouble falling asleep. She, so she was really exhausted and low energy. She was on acid reflux meds for 12 years. She was always feeling like bloated, and she felt like she was becoming a burden on her family, and that was really bothering her. And she didn't want to feel like she's supposed to be the caretaker, and she didn't want to feel like they're having to take care of her and remind
Yeah.
her of simple, daily things like not forgetting her kids' lunch, or,
Mhm.
mom, don't forget to grab your phone, or, oh, I can't believe you forgot that again.
Yeah.
Um, so, and, she really wanted to focus on longevity and be there for the long haul. And once we worked on nutritional deficiencies and, supporting her liver and stabilizing blood sugar and growth mindset, within a handful of weeks, I could see the transformation in her.
Yeah.
From, she was kind of like drab and low energy, and she just seemed like more full of life. And she was feeling better, which she was lighter. And by 12 weeks, she had completely weaned off of her acid reflux meds and was no longer having symptoms. So that was a huge win. And she told me that, she was happy because her son would say, like, "Oh, you remembered my backpack today," as she's taking him to school. It's funny that, you're going somewhere and you forget the one thing that's the most important.
Yeah.
Um, and, her husband was like, "Oh, wow, like, you know, you forgot your phone, but you remembered where it was," or "I can't believe you didn't forget your phone this time." Because
Yeah.
that was one of her big things, was always forgetting her phone.
Mhm.
So, by reducing the inflammation and regulating blood sugar and cortisol, everything just kind of shifted. And she didn't realize also that she didn't feel like she really had that much stress,
Mhm.
but she said that she actually felt like she had even less stress, and she was able to be more calm. And she's like, "I didn't realize how crabby I was actually, and how
Yeah.
reactive I was." And she just felt so much better. And so her relationships were improving with her son and her husband.
I love that. Do you have another one to share?
I did have another one who came to me with the same thing. With the main things were like bloating and brain fog and fatigue. Again, those tend to be very prominent
Common.
these days. So, and yeah, we were, foundational things we were working on with gut healing, eating the right foods for her. And after, um, handful of weeks, she started to realize that she didn't really have any boundaries, and she was a people pleaser, and it was really affecting her health. So when we were, uncovering that and worked through that, she felt like she had more control of her life and she became less stressed, which ultimately helped with all of her health issues. And then she also ended up eventually advancing at work and getting a promotion. So it was all around a really good improvement for her.
Yeah, and so it like everything changes when your health is better, your energy's better, your mind is sharper, you're able to show up better. That leads to the promotions, that leads to the better that leads to the better relationships when we're not reactive. Like everything just gets better, and that's why it's so amazing to for people to work with health coaches who do that, who get to the root cause, who take a holistic approach, take all of the things into it. They're not just like and customize it. It's not just cookie cutter. Like they're really focusing in on, how can I serve this person to the best of my ability, which you do. And so if there are people listening who are wondering, how do they get in touch with you? You're like, hey, I want some of that for my life. What is the best way for them to connect with you?
My website is helloholisticu.com, www, helloholisticu.com. That is my business. And I am also on Instagram. So it is hello.holistic.you. And I'm also on Facebook, but that's just my name, Valentina Tucker. So any three of those would be perfect.
Awesome. And that Hello Holistic is HELLO, holistic, HOLISTIC. You is YOU. So the actual like you as in you. So definitely check her out at helloholisticu.com and hello.holistic.you on Instagram. She's a wealth of information and she gets amazing results for her clients. And I'm so excited for you to share as a great example of what do you do when you have lots of things to consider. How do you pick your niche and how can you serve them so that you can create your own soul satisfying practice? And so if that is you, I'm going to put a video here on how to find your niche that you can check out, so that to help you narrow down what is it that you are meant to do and who are you meant to serve. And with that, thank you so much, Valentina. We so much appreciated you.
Thank you so much. It was
And to all of you for listening, thank you. If you have questions, pop them in the comments. We love to hear and create content around your questions. And with that, have an amazing week. And of course, be good for you.